Imagine you own a small shop. You have a bike shop, you are a passionate cyclist, and you love fixing bikes and helping people. And suddenly, one day you come to your shop, and your bank machine doesn't work. You cannot accept cards. So you accept cash and then call the bank on a lunch break. And they don't talk to you. They don't tell you anything. The people you know and people you met many times refuse to explain what's going on, but the accounts are blocked. You go to the bank and you find out you have many more bank accounts than you ever believed. You find out that you are in debt, that you have paid for bikes you never received, and you got loans for those bikes. So how can this happen? How is it possible there is a whole shadow company behind your bike shop that's doing business, accepting money, and obviously doing something without you ever realizing that? The explanation is that the finance has changed fundamentally. What you knew as a bank with a local branch and people sitting behind the desk is gone. Most of the banking is today done by computer code, by algorithms. And those algorithms have no common sense. They have no understanding of the customer. They have no understanding of what you do on the human level. They only understand the numbers. And they can be fooled very efficiently by the criminals who know exactly what to do to go through the motions and the processes to fool them. At Resistant AI, we are stopping criminals from doing that. I'm Martin Rehak. I'm one of the 9 co-founders of Resistant AI, and we have been working in the field of financial crime and cybercrime for the last 20 years. We have started Resistant AI 7 years ago in 2019, when we anticipated that the rise of fintech will completely change the way how crime is committed in the financial world. And this is now going on, and we can see the effects of the changes in the last years. The traditional fraud that has always been with us is still there. There is no way diminishing, and people are still cheating on their taxes, people are cheating with their invoices, cheating on their insurance, and this will probably never go away, because we are human. What has changed is that since COVID, or roughly, people have learned as organized crime gangs to exploit financial system. Because they started with government, they started with COVID grants, the money that you could easily get to make you survive through the COVID. But actually, once this was gone, they switched to banks, they switched to insurances, and they switched to scamming people out of their money. So now we have the fastest growing segment of crime going after your money straight. And this is getting far more interesting because since the last year, AI has fundamentally changed how these criminal gangs operate, made them much more efficient, much more dangerous, and much more efficient in stealing money. So this is what a criminal gang looks like. It looks like any other office, unless you notice the number of phones, identities, chats with the people, fake police badges, and all of the other things that you wouldn't expect in a normal office, other than ours, actually. Because this is what criminal gang today looks like. The amount of the damage they cause is about $30 billion per year, and this is a very low-end estimate. The initial way how to get the money is typically go after the people. You pick people who are the most vulnerable and the least likely to defend themselves. You pick the old, the vulnerable, and you scam them. You use their need to be loved and you commit romance scam. You pretend to be someone. You use their need to be rich and you defraud them with investment scam. You offer them bitcoins or something else. And you promise them a better future. But there is only that many people that have money to be stolen from them. So your next stage is going to companies. And you start stealing money from companies. So you start faking documents. You become a customer in your own name, name of someone else, or name of someone who doesn't exist. And you start misusing their services to steal money. And because this is becoming much more popular, you can even see criminals who are primarily serving other criminals. There is a whole supply chain of criminal services, like websites, where you can actually design a whole passport, which can then go through the onboarding process, so that you can steal identity. Because trust me, if you want to commit crimes, it's much better to do it under the name of someone else than your own. That's our rule number 1. Also, if you commit crimes, don't do it on your own address. So when you are asked to prove where you live, please put your friend's address, or ideally someone you don't know, and you can get a very officially looking utility bill for something like $40, not even on the dark web. There are some nice Telegram channels. And if you go to Google and type, I need a fake utility bill, you will find out that some criminals are actually paying for Google ads so that they are up there on the page. And because this is not enough to commit fraud, you can also get a payslip, because some companies are checking more. Well, payslips, good news, are for free. You don't even have to pay $40. You just go to the website, you fill in all the information, again, ideally someone else's information, and this is what you get, very officially and nicely looking document proving you are gainfully employed in the United States. And then you go and you commit fraud. But when you do, why would you stop at one fraud? You can commit a whole series of frauds, like this case we have in Brazil. So you can basically create a whole series of identities, and then you can create a series of bank accounts. So we are having colleagues who are going through dark web, and they are looking at the supply and demand for bank accounts in different banks that are being sold in other people's names. Each dot is one bank, and you can see how much does it cost. So it's between $20 and $20,000 per account. And you can see banks where you can buy about 10,000 accounts currently, and banks where you only can buy a handful. And you can see that there is a dependence. So how do people on this image achieve such sophistication? Well, the advantage is that today they are massively helped by the AI. Because when you need to impersonate someone, like if I wanted to impersonate Brad Pitt, it's a stretch, but so is for them. So I can use AI to simply swap identities, faces, and make me appear like anyone else I need to be, because I happened to have that person's ID that was already stolen and sold to me by someone else on the black market. So I pick an identity. Then I can actually go and I can prove my address by getting a utility bill on the dark web. And then I prove the ownership of the bank account I never had by taking a bank statement from the bank where that bike shop has their account, and I modify it to match my details and the address of something else than the bike shop, so they never get the mail. And suddenly I have a second bank account, I can accept payments. So this is the chain of actions that opens you a bank account in someone else's name. Please don't follow this advice. Once you have that, you can take the obvious step and take loans in their name. Much better than your own name. But you can also commit fraud with your suppliers, because these receipts can be now created with a single prompt in ChatGPT or Gemini. ChatGPT is much better with receipts. Gemini is amazing if you need crashed car or a crashed bike. Like, I need a damaged bike picture for my insurance. Gemini is your friend. So this is an example. And you can no longer, as you heard amply, trust documents or images of documents. And so how do you stop this? How can you actually operate an efficient financial organization that doesn't force people to come to the branches and show their face in person? Well, you have to use AI. Unsurprisingly. And the AI is not just any kind of AI. You cannot simply take Claude and say, stop fraud. And trust me, some people tried. What you have to do is you have to design a system where you have the AI systems running on different levels. It's operational people running with AI on the minute basis, both on the criminal and defender side. Then you have managers changing the processes and the ways how things operate very easily, because they can do this on a daily basis. You change the processes in any company, and criminals are companies today. Then you change the process on the bank side. If you are a financial institution, you should change the way how you open accounts every month or so today. And that's typically not happening. And the last level is that every month or so, there is a new model that appears. There is a new ChatGPT, Image 2.0, there is a new version of Gemini, and suddenly everything changes and we start from scratch. So we are on the side of the good guys, and each of those cycles looks like this. There is always the probing phase. So the criminals start and they try to find holes in the system. And once they find the holes, we have to discover that they got through. And by the time we discover that, we start modifying our own system and fix it, so we stop them. Once they are stopped, they again start probing, and then we have to stop them. How can you stop the vicious cycle? Because you can notice that criminals profit most of the time. Well, you stop them using 3 different ways. First, you must have depth of defense. You shouldn't rely on a single AI system, but you must have a set of models that are covering each other's blind spots. So the probing becomes much less efficient, takes less time. On the other level, you should be using a breadth of the visibility we get. We operate on documents and transactions from about 180 countries globally, and believe me, criminals are not as original as they believe. So we can learn on one criminal in Indonesia and then apply this against their friends in India. And then we can stop them much more efficiently. And last but not least, you win by being faster, by being adaptive, by changing what you do on a daily or month or even hourly basis, and by constantly getting ahead of what the criminals are doing, by being adaptive, being smart, being more intelligent. This is not something you can achieve just using AI. Do not imagine the world where AI is fighting AI and we are just watching, we are bystanders. Humans are part of this fight and they must be a necessary part of defense, because humans with AI always beats just AI or just humans. It's the combination that's winning. And how do we stop it? It's 3 different levels. First, you as individuals, please be vigilant. Do not trust any emails. Do not click on any links. When someone calls you and says, I'm from your bank, just hang up, because it never ends well, even if it's a bank. And also, on the next level, banks have to change themselves. They have to stop being so trusting and so easy to fool. And we are helping them to change in that way. But on the last level, and the most importantly, criminals are basically painless. No one is going after them into Nigeria, India, Pakistan, Indonesia, Cambodia, or Vietnam. No one is physically pursuing them and going after them. And if you count the number of arrests, it's a minuscule percentage. It's probably the safest occupation on the planet. And this is something that needs to change and needs to stop. Thank you.